Every day, excessive delays and denials from big insurers keep patients from accessing the care they need. And when care is urgent, these delays can be disastrous. These practices cost billions in wasteful spending, driving up costs for American families. But while big insurers put up barriers, America's hospitals and health systems are in your corner, navigating endless reviews and appeals to get you the care you need when you need it most. It's time to curb these harmful practices and put the focus back on patients. Brought to you by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Healthcare.
We're back on the Yaffee program. This is Alabama's Revolution in Common Sense on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Let's get into some state politics right now with Todd Stacy. He is host of Alabama Public Television's Capital Journal, also with Alabama Daily News, which you can read at aldailynews.com. Sign up for their Daily Digest email newsletter as well. Todd, how are you this morning? Todd, are you there?
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm okay. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Are you taking it a little bit easy this week? Because I believe the legislature's on spring break.
That's right. I mean, they're on spring break. Doesn't exactly mean we get one, but the one big difference it makes for us is we won't have nightly shows this week. You know, during the legislative session, we're on the air nightly at 10:30 after the local news, you know, for Capital Journal to recap that day in the Alabama legislature. Well, when they're not there, there's not much point of doing that. And so we do get a little break in that, which is very nice. I think most people are in agreement that the spring break week came at the right time because everybody's pretty exhausted and they've got a pretty big couple of weeks coming up. So they're going to need, you know, it doesn't help going into weeks with all kinds of big issues coming up if everybody's tired and ornery and just kind of grouchy. So I think they were right to take a break and they'll come back rested and ready.
Well, I understand that at the end of the week last week for the session, some people were grouchy, especially Democrats. They were threatening to blow things up a little bit, right?
Well, they did. I mean, they pretty much wasted a day in the Senate. You had what was kind of billed as cloture day. Like they were going to put up some red meat bills. You had the Gulf of America bill. You also had a 10 Commandments in classrooms bill. Like these are obviously Republican kind of messaging bills, things that their base really cares about. And in an election year, you know, those kind of things happen. But obviously Democrats weren't going to support those things. And they filibustered and did their thing as you would expect them to do. But apparently there were some absences in the Senate that day, and so they did not have the votes to cloture, meaning, you know, shut off debate. So with that being the case, they pretty much had to just call it a day and did not, you know, they carried those bills over. That means they can come back at any time. But, this late in the session, you don't want to be wasting a day, especially with so many bills left remaining. So, yeah, I mean, that just goes to show you got to have the numbers. Even with these supermajorities in the House and Senate, you've got to have the numbers if you're going to want to push your agenda.
Well, and, I mean, what was it that they were so upset about? Was it really just the nature of those bills? Or is there something else going on here?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're a Democrat, you know, you're not going to support renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America to in state law to, you know, go with President Donald Trump's renaming efforts. They're just not going to be for that. There's one thing, you know, that they're going to use every tool at their disposal, and what they have is the filibuster under the Senate rules. And, you know, that's what they used. And so that means essentially that to shut them down, Republicans would have to invoke cloture. They didn't have the votes to invoke cloture on Thursday. So the choice was either move on to other stuff, non-controversial stuff, or let's just go home and call it a day. And they just decided to go home and call it a day.
Speaking with Todd, Stacy, he's with Alabama Daily News. So what do you think is going to be the first thing that they really try to address when they get back after the break?
Well, those two bills will certainly, they meant to get them done last week, so maybe they'll try it again in the Senate. But it's time for the kind of the crossing of the chambers when it comes to the budgets. The education budget started in the House this year. That it passed easily. Now it goes to the Senate, so it's their turn to start taking that up. And I expect that to be in committee next week. Same thing for the general fund. It started in the Senate this year, passed, and now goes to the House. So they will, kind of cross each other in the hallways, and so that's going to be a big deal. I expect both budgets to be done next week. So they'll come in on Tuesday, probably have committee meetings that day. Go ahead and pass them on the floor the following day, and you could have budgets signed into law by the time Thursday comes around. Sometimes that doesn't happen, though. Sometimes, obviously the bills go over to the governor. They originated with the governor and have changed very little. There are some things that she may have a problem with, but she can always send over an executive amendment, meaning it's technically a veto. You veto the budget and send back an amendment that you need or want, and see what the legislature does with it. I kind of doubt that will happen this year with the budgets, but it could happen on some bills. So that's a big deal for that's the biggest thing the legislature does. I think the budget's getting done in a pretty non-controversial way is a big accomplishment in any year, but especially in an election year.
Yeah, that's true. I guess if you're going to have those distractions where they want to filibuster, you don't want that over the budget. You would prefer that over other issues. So that kind of makes sense. I want to move on to some national politics because I saw that Katie Britt, who was very instrumental in negotiating a deal to end the previous shutdown, she's obviously pretty frustrated by Democrats. They don't seem to be willing to talk at all when it comes to making a deal to end this Department of Homeland Security shutdown. She kind of pushed the idea that you put forward a bill where members of Congress don't get paid during government shutdowns, which obviously is going to be popular. Doesn't really make a big difference, but it'll be popular. But what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I know she's frustrated. She's been frustrated for weeks. We're, I think, in day 37 of this partial shutdown, meaning it's only the Department of Homeland Security. And because of how much funding was in the big, beautiful bill, that isn't even affecting immigration. It's not affecting ICE. They've got funding. What it's affecting is everybody else. Obviously, TSA, that's the most visible one, but also the Coast Guard. I mean, there are other agencies within DHS. And so you're seeing these long lines at airports. That's really coming to a head. And, yeah, she has been to the floor. She has expressed frustrations with Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, and really all Democrats for kind of refusing to negotiate. Well, the good news is those negotiations have finally started to happen. Her main complaint was they wouldn't even come to the table. That has happened. There have been meetings, including last night at the White House. There was a big meeting with essentially Senate Majority Leader John Thune taking to the president a compromise deal to get it all worked out, and hopefully be voting on it this week. The bad news is Trump did not go for it. This is all according to Punchbowl News, which anybody that follows federal politics or wants to, Punchbowl is really great at covering the Hill. Great, very well sourced. And so, it looked like they had a deal with Democrats to reopen DHS. I'm confident that Senator Britt was right in the middle of that. I've not talked to her about it, but I mean, if it's DHS appropriations, she's the chairman. I'm sure she was involved in that. And so, but apparently the White House, Trump himself, doesn't want that deal. He wants to fight. He wants the issue, and he wants to, kind of force the pain over DHS funding to help get leverage to pass the Save America Act. Those are two very different issues, and so I'm curious to talk to Senator Britt today in light of this latest development. It's pretty big news.
Yeah, especially when you talk about the Save America Act, because I just can't imagine. You want to give Democrats a reason to keep this going. That gives them a reason.
Right.
I don't see them caving on that at all. Which, I agree with the bill. I want the bill to pass, but it's just no way they're going to agree to that.
Yeah, when I woke up, this was all reported this morning, and listened to the podcast, read the newsletter. I really couldn't believe it. First of all, they've been trying to get to a deal for more than a month. They finally get to one. And then it's the White House, it's Trump that says no. I mean, if I was the Republicans in the Senate, I would be very frustrated because you're right. Like Save America Act, you're not going to find something the Democrats oppose more than that. And you're right. It gives them more juice to keep fighting. If that's on the table. So I don't think it's a very good tactic. We've talked about this before, Yaffee. Sometimes the president doesn't get very good advice. Over the years, I'm sure he makes plenty of mistakes himself, but sometimes you can almost see like, oh man, that was somebody that really gave some bad advice. And having worked in politics for decades myself, like staff is very instrumental. This is a bad idea, and hopefully they'll come to understand that and figure if there's a deal to be had on DHS funding, they should make it and not involve the Save America Act, because you're right, that just gives Democrats all the more reason to keep fighting on both issues.
Yeah, and Republicans have had some good reasons to fight as well. I understand why they want to wear masks, the ICE agents. But then President Trump posts on Truth Social today that he wants ICE to not wear masks at the airports. So I'm thinking, doesn't that kind of undermine the whole argument there? So ICE, they're going to wear masks everywhere else, but at the airport they're not. I mean, I didn't understand that thinking either, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the mask thing is just a case-by-case basis. I mean, if you're going into a criminal drug ring, some kind of dangerous situation, and where you could literally be not just doxxed, but your face be used to target your family and things like that. I mean, those are real concerns. Then, yeah, of course you should be masked. But in other situations, it really doesn't make sense. In fact, it can inflame the situation when you come in looking like a paramilitary. So. To me, it should be case by case, and they should have the flexibility to do that. But again, is that the hill you want to die on? Yeah, I mean, if there's a deal to be made, make the deal. These lines are long at the airports. Alex Engel, our reporter, is flying back from Houston to Washington today, and is going to face about 2 hours worth of waiting in the TSA line. I mean, if Republicans want to help themselves out in the midterms, make a deal on TSA, open up the Department of Homeland Security, claim credit, and get this issue off the table.
Speaking with Todd, Stacy's with Alabama Daily News, Alabama Public Television's Capitol Journal. You can always check out Capitol Journal on YouTube or live on public television or the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. Todd, I appreciate it. As always, I know we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Yaffee, be good.
You as well. If you want to react, we have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. Coming up next, we'll start the Sunday news show's recap. Of course, this is the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
The Yaffee program.
When you really need care, you need 24/7 access to a care team, not a maze of paperwork from a third party. Every day, America's hospitals and health systems show up for you. Navigating healthcare can feel overwhelming, but you can count on real doctors, real nurses, real people, providing quality, around-the-clock care when you need it most. They're in your corner, in communities across America. Your neighbors, your lifelines, right beside you, holding your hand and helping find answers. That's what putting patients first actually means. Learn more at strengthenhealthcare.org. Brought to you by the Coalition to Strengthen America's Healthcare.
Hey, football fans, it's Cam Hayward from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I still remember what draft night felt like for me. The nerves, the waiting, and then hearing my name called knowing everything was about to change. The 2026 NFL Draft presented by Bud Light is coming to Pittsburgh, April 23rd to the 25th. Enjoy 3 days of football, family fun, and the moment draft dreams come true. Register for free entry at nfl.com/draft access. Maybe I'll see you there.